Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Make It Your Business podcast. You thought we'd gone, didn't you? You thought we gave up and went home. No, we're still here. My name's Duncan Casey, by the way, of Copper Sprocket, and this is James Murray.
James Murray, yes,
Finance.
that's me. Yeah,
You can see all our details and loveliness here. Yes, we just wanted to kind of start this episode really by acknowledging the fact that we've been in absentia for the last,
You've been. That means reading a dictionary.
Yes.
Swallowing dictionaries.
Swallowing dictionaries. No, we've struggled to obviously maintain much of a regularity with the publishing of our various episodes. That's largely down to me having been quite busy because I do the editing of our podcast and the publishing, and it's just been a very, very busy few months. So that's on my.
Well, I think it's quite worth mentioning because we're running businesses. The idea was to try and have this out fortnightly, in which in the first few episodes that was easy to do, but life takes over, business takes over, and you have to prioritize those things. So I think one of the main things is just showing up and trying to keep going, and that's the most important thing. When you can't be perfect, at least being able to keep turning up, keep doing it, and keep producing hopefully some good quality content, because I don't want to just. I guess we could have just rushed some out and just talked, because we obviously don't talk any nonsense at all. This is all 100%.
100%. Yeah.
Very high quality content.
There's no fat on this podcast whatsoever.
I did do some stats. I looked at some stats, and so I think this episode's going to be about number 15. So 90% of podcasts never make it past 3 episodes.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
when you think about it.
Yeah, of those that survive past 3, 90% of those never make it past 20.
Wow. Okay.
So we're probably in the top 5% roughly, heading towards being in the top 1%. And that's just doing this. And what frustrates me is, if anybody's picked up on it so far, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like all my ducks lined up in a row, and I want to try and do everything the best I can do.
I'm a shambolic.
It's a partnership.
Yes.
Yin and yang. Yin and yang. But I think what's important here is, like, sometimes when you can't, as I say, you can't necessarily do all these things perfectly. I've got so many ideas, and I know you have too, about guests and content that we can actually produce on here to help business owners and help entrepreneurs, and it's just so difficult to get all of that out in this. When did we start this? We started it earlier in the year. So it's just really difficult to get all of that out in one go. So I think the best thing you can do is just to kind of get the wheels in motion and just start to get this stuff out there, and hopefully next year as well we'll be able to improve it. Maybe improve consistency, quality, and in both terms of production and the content that we're producing. So
100%. I think that, I do think in stages, and I would like to upgrade the equipment. I would like to upgrade, get some better cameras, because we basically film this on iPhones, and we need some proper dedicated mics just to have it as I'd like to have a kit in a box essentially that's just is ready for mobile podcasting, because it's also a product I'd like to sort of offer people as well. I have got podcasting clients, but most of them we send to, or I partner with studios on, because it's just it's much easier. It's much better to do.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it'd be nice to touch on things that have happened in the year, and but also we've not really had a catch up in the last month or so, and I know you've been busy. So, and you said just before we started recording that you've just won a contract with somebody to do a podcast from content that you've been doing online. So all the stuff we've been preaching about producing content, we're evidencing that works.
That's to anyone who did it. So it's funny because I, like many of you, I'm sure, have had dark nights of the soul where it's like, why am I doing this? I was doing bits of content, and it's not hard in the sense of, like, I enjoy it and it's fun to put together, and I'll quite often use ChatGPT to to workshop some ideas and then get it to help bullet point some scripts, and then, you know, and I like to shoot that way and make a sort of cool little thing and throw in some gags and but it's the time it takes, of course, to sit down and edit it and get all the captions right, and then
that 60-second video doesn't take 60 seconds to produce.
No. It's the setting up of equipment. And
for me, it's the idea. So with my videos that I do, they're more like educational, but in finance it can be a bit dry. So I'm trying to, mine a lot of the time is the idea behind it. It's coming up with the idea and what I'm going to say and what I'm going to tell people that isn't just going to be really boring. Yeah.
So I had we were going away for like a little family. It was around half term, I think. We were going away just for a little break over a weekend, and we were planning on the Friday to like pack and get ready to go and all this kind of stuff. And then I noticed I had in my diary that there was a call booked, and I was like, I had mistaken it for someone else, and I was like, hang on, no, I'm supposed to be having a call with him on the Thursday. What's going on? Looked into it. I was like, who is this? And then sort of traced it back to where it would have come from, and I was like, oh, he just clicked on the contact me, you know, the thing that we all ask people to do in our content, but often don't expect them to.
They book like a Calendly.
Yeah. I think it got through my calendar, so I was like, oh, that's the sales call. Better go and do this. So, and bless him, lovely guy, just really, really enthusiastic about doing a podcast. And so yeah, we can't be ironing out the details on that, but next week we're gonna get down to London and film a batch for him. It's going to be really exciting. So yeah, that's that was good, and it is proof that it does work. It's just, and it depends. I mean, I say proof that it works. It depends. I don't think it's, you know, your industry. Your mileage may vary depending on what industry you're in.
Yeah, I think for me, this year has taught me. I put a lot of effort into my SEO, so my search engine optimization. For those that don't know what that is, and that's producing blogs, producing content for the website, and then producing videos and just general content and putting it out there into the world. Yeah. And I think for me, it was interesting to see how long it's taken to get leads, but then also the conversion rate on those types of leads is a lot lower than a recommendation or a referral.
Yeah.
So if I get an inquiry from one of my posts, I might be converting about 5% of that. Right. Whereas if you recommend your friend or business associate to come and have a business loan, I'll probably convert 35 to 40% of those. So, but that's hard to scale that. What's the opposite of unorganically? Inorganically. Yeah. So it's sort of, it's hard to scale. So whereas you can sort of think, well, actually, I'm going to create these like lead magnets and produce this content, but it takes a lot of time for that to kind of resonate and to sort of let the algorithms do their work and find your audience. So it can be disheartening, and you think, well, why am I doing this? Well,
one recent example that I would cite, actually, now that I think about that has worked on me, is a guy called Tom Gilby, who's like a wine. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah, no.
Got the long hair, so he's a bit nuts. But he's very, you know, extrovert, but he's really fun to watch.
I enjoy him. Yeah.
And he's become, I think, he's started to really gain some traction recently.
I think he's now even presenting almost. I think he was on like GMTV or one of those sort of channels.
Well, that makes sense.
Sort of.
And I think he must own like a wine little brokerage. What did you call it? Dealing.
I don't know. He grew up around wine, but he's not a sommelier or anything. I don't think. He's just sort of, he's got a good taste for wine or nose for wine, and grew up around it. And
well, I actually clicked on the link in his bio to look at his thingy box. You know, I was like, partly because I was going, I bet this is really overpriced. And it wasn't, to be fair. It was 95 quid for 6 bottles, which is sort of 15 quid a bottle, which you kind of go, well, for good wine, that's not bad.
If he's picked it, I guess.
Yeah, it's his sort of Christmas box. And I was like, oh, I might do that. And then I was going, well, it worked. There you are. But
there you go. That's on a big scale. That's
And that's just the guy. I think he gets his son to film it, and they do.
That's how it started. His son, I think, said to him, look, we should film you tasting wine, and he ran a marathon or something, drinking a wine at every mile or something. Just doing kind of crazy stuff. But I guess the thing here is he is an expert in his field. Yeah. He's then got something a bit unique, and he's just tailored those two things together. Sprinkle that with a a certain quantity of content, a little bit of luck, and
I don't think they post that regularly either. I think he's just been dumping, it's mainly shorts as well, not long.
What's interesting is these people do then end up, they probably get an agent at some point, and then they just really, they rank it, rank it up, and then they just exploit it. There'll be wine stoppers, there'll be wine aerators and stuff, all with his face on, and stamps and stuff. So it's and then it'll go into something else, like steaks, the best steaks to have with wine, and then it'll have a steak restaurant, and it goes. I think we might have talked about it before, but these Hollywood actors and actresses that end up becoming business people.
I think we have.
It really annoys me.
If you're watching this on LinkedIn, or if you're going on LinkedIn and you are considering posting one of those, sycophantic posts about Ryan sodding Reynolds and his business acumen, when it's like, the bit they always leave out is that, conveniently, there's also a Hollywood
They're
star.
leveraging their access to both money and resources,
it's almost
and
like they've just discovered
contacts,
what fame is.
And influence. They have influence immediately. So it's a very different business model. And fair play, they still got to do it. Still got to do it, but
good for him.
I'd do the same thing.
If I had millions of dollars, and bearing in mind I had to spend some of it, otherwise I was going to get clobbered for tax. Because bearing in mind, most actors will have set up their own production company or whatever, which is what the vehicle they get paid through. So that's why the whole thing with Rust, with Baldwin being a producer, and then sort of coming under scrutiny for what happened as a producer. It's like, well, he's not though. He's on as a producer so that he can get paid through his production company. Yeah. And so, and most people do this. It's the same thing as this argument's been going on recently about, that what a lot of these people who will say tax the rich miss is that if you're a millionaire, I saw some guys say well, why not say rich? I mean, people are earning over £1 million a year. It's like, if you're earning £1 million a year, you're not paying yourself £1 million a year. You set up a limited company that's earning £1 million a year, and you're just drawing off whatever you need and paying dividend tax on it. It's like, don't be stupid. Of course, so all these things are so sort of theoretical and not actually practical. And it's the same thing with that. It's like, if I'm Ryan Reynolds and I've just earned whatever million for a film, I'm not going I need a new gold toilet. I'm going, what can I do with this? Maybe I'll launch a gym brand, maybe. Because I think he bought, what did he buy? It was a phone company or something. He bought, what was it?
I've got no idea or interest really at that point.
I know.
It's just, I'm just
fine. So he did some business. Cool, good thing.
Probably they've got their toe in a bit of everything, haven't they?
Yeah.
But back onto us and small to medium-sized businesses, and the world that we live in and can potentially influence. What's any highs or lows from the year that stand out for you?
This year has been a funny one, because I don't know if you find this, but I've the last couple of years have emotionally felt like a slog. It's been real, and especially just general. I think the general atmosphere out there is really things are really slow. Things aren't going. People are really parsimonious. They don't want to spend money. They don't want to get involved. They love the idea of things, but can't make it work.
It's batten down the hatches. I mean, we've not had a lot of support, have we, as business owners from the government?
From either government.
No.
So it's felt like that. But when I reflect back on it, and especially when you look back on your accounts for the year, you go, actually, it wasn't that bad. When averaged out, it's been okay, but it's come in such fits and starts. That's been the scariest bit. So you spend so much time in that panic mode, but then something comes along and sort of bails you out for a bit longer, and then you come back in. But when I look back on it, I've done some really great work. I've met some really great new clients. Got to go shoot in Scotland.
That's got to be one of the highlights.
That's definitely a highlight. Yeah, that film I'm very proud of. That little wee film, and them as a company, I really like them. Really nice people, and the adoption focus video that we did recently, in partnership with Brand Nation. They're a really great company as well. That's a big PR firm.
I saw you got your daughter got her first role.
Yes, she's in there. And look at it. That was a. I'll put it. I'll put it on the end of this video, I guess. Yeah, I'll just add it on the end of this episode. So stick around to the end of the episode. And check that out. But it was a national campaign for them that was to go on the side of digital vans. So it was
a fairly you didn't have a big budget to do that,
No.
did you? You had to sort of really use all the resources that you had.
Yes, yeah, I'm always trepidatious about saying, yes, we did this, we pulled this off for no money, because then people go, great, can you pull it off for me for no money as well?
Yeah.
But they're a charity, I'd just like to remind you. But yeah, we sort of scrabbled around and got that done, and we used AI for the special effects. There were some CG elements in it as well, but we used AI for the concept was, or how it had been sold. My very good friend Jeremy, he pitched this client, the Adoption Focus, with the idea of like 5 minutes is a lifetime to a child, but the average length or time it takes for adoption is 18 months. So imagine how long that is for a child. And what he wanted to do was have some kids in a waiting room, and they all, like in a sort of faux time lapse, age on camera. And so initially I think they'd gone, so it'd be a 5-minute video. I'm like, 5 minutes? So I was like, that's a very long video just to do one thing, Yeah. So then I sort of built some narrative into it, and kind of and came out with the shot list, and we kind of worked through all that, and it worked out really well in the end. We shot it. I managed to get a location from one of my friends who just happens to own like some land with an office block on it, and one of the offices was empty.
It looked like a waiting room.
Yeah. So, and then we did a CG clock, because the clock needed to sort of start going crazy, and then there were a few problems that, like, we were having some issues with getting the aging thing to work. And they didn't know how to end it, because it was like, I can't pull back and reveal them all aged, because that wasn't working. So I just came up with some creative things on the end of that, and it was great. It was a really satisfying thing to do, and I think, and hopefully, they all said they were very happy with it. So, and I think it's done them some good business. And we also had to produce videos with the D6s. So D6 are those like vertical digital billboards you see in train stations and stuff like that, on sides of escalators and whatnot. They're like, so we produced a bunch of those for them. So that was very satisfying. It's really nice to see something out there that people are walking past, that I shot, directed, edited, put together.
Did the theme tune, right? The theme tune is the theme tune.
Exactly that. Yeah. So, but no. So that was another highlight, and there's been other bits in between. And
done some acting gigs as well.
Done some acting gigs. Got just finished one as well. Just did my first vertical drama. That was fun. Yeah. So I changed agents back in March, and my new agent has just been absolutely on fire. She's been fantastic. So very, very grateful to her. And yeah, we'll see what's going on. There's a few more irons in the fire yet.
What's she done differently to your previous agent then? Just be more proactive, or I think, better contact book? Or
I think so. Look, I mean, I've nothing but love for my previous agent. He was a really, really lovely guy, but I think he probably just had too much on his plate. So and also you have, I think when you change agents as well, it's not even like, they were a big agency and they had lots of good contacts, but they were much more in like theatre. And I just think I wasn't with someone. Whereas my new agent, she's very much
Hollywood.
I don't know about Hollywood, but she has her clients in like Netflix shows and Frankenstein, the new Frankenstein movie. One of her clients is in that. He plays Christoph Waltz's butler or something. So small role, but in.
I just think you'd be perfect in Slow Horses. I
think you could play
the.
Look like
I think you could be like his long lost brother or something.
Brother.
Older. His old brother. Older.
I mean, he's old. Someone said I look like him. I have seen the first.
You've definitely got
series.
A vibe. Yeah, he's quite good. But I keep saying this to you, don't I? I see something going, oh, you'd have been great in that, which is probably really annoying. But
no, not at all.
But it just shows, and then you look them up and you're like, oh wow, it's kind of that whole thing about all the work that's been done that you don't see, and then you see the final bit, and then you look at these actors and you're like, oh yeah, he's been on the scene for 20 years, and they finally has got a good gig, and it just takes that one sort of,
and it's all just it is luck, but I don't mean that in a sort of hand wavy thing. I think a lot of the luck comes from, I've always said it's a war of attrition, and I think a lot of the luck comes from finding ways to stay in the game long enough, and these roles, you yes, a lot of it's sewn up already. Like they want names, pretty already established names. Though the tide is turning on that. I've started to notice, and there's a lot more. I think as I've gotten older and a bit more cantankerous, as if I could get more cantankerous, I've kind of been a bit less guarded about what I say to people. That's actually probably helped me. Like whenever I've met casting directors, it used to be I'd be trying to put on a front and trying to be, whatever. Now I just go, well, being blunt, but you're not going to see me for like the roles I want to be seen for, because you've got to look for stars and stuff, and they've all gone, yeah, that used to be true, but it is slowly now they are starting to say, okay, we need to look for people who are unknown. But then the good thing is, if you've been, like I've been doing it for nearly 16 years, and it's I've got a lot of track record there, so I'm reliable. Like someone could look at that and go, do you know what, he could do these roles. He's got the track record, and he's got lots of repeat business from directors and casting directors over the years. So it's just a strong. You just don't realize. Again, like we talked about this year being, you don't know what's coming, so you live a lot of the year in fear. Yeah. Even though when you look back on it, you go, actually, I didn't need to worry so much, But you can't know it at the time.
Well, this time next year, you could be an I'm a Celebrity for you know.
I doubt
Would you ever do that?
Not if I don't have to.
Yeah, 100 grand, 200 grand.
That's really for politicians, I think. And when I say politicians, I don't just mean career politicians. I mean people like Peter Andre, because he's not really a musician. He's a public figure.
But a soap actor, they're not turning down 150k plus the extras that you get afterwards. You're gonna bank that, aren't you? Just probably. To eat a few worms
But some people do. I mean, like Nigel Farage did it. And I think it did wonders for him.
Yeah, I think so. The thing with him, I felt it. The timing, he didn't sort of strike straight after. But I guess maybe that's.
He was. I don't think he did it initially because he stepped out of politics.
It didn't do. I don't think it did. Old Matt Hancock that good that he did it. They really didn't.
He needs PR people.
There's some things. Or just crawl under a rock and never come back.
Yeah, that would be good.
I don't. Not everybody needs a revolution.
TikTok dances and stuff. Yeah. It's like, mate, we don't like you.
No, just go away.
Yes. I don't think I would do that, but I don't know. I'd like you have to realise that it's less than 1% of all the actors. I saw a stat the other day that the SAG-AFTRA, which is the American union, has something like 660,000 members or something, of which it's something like at any one time there's about 800 or 900 actors in work. So you go, that's less than 1%.
That's not exactly a stat you want to read to motivate you in the morning as an actor, is it?
So
I did. I mean, I keep saying this. I read, and I've actually listened to more books this year than I have read, because of the whole. It's just been convenient, and I listened. And actually, I think if you're going to listen to a book, I think Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey is probably a good one to listen to, because he's narrated that, and that was quite interesting, listening to his journey. But again, it is always coming from the top of the mountain, so you're hearing it. It's all self-prophesized because you've already made it.
Did you ever watch Inside the Actors Studio? That was a sort of interview show that was done in America, and it was always James Lipton, who's the head of the Actors Studio, which is the main Stanislavski. It's the everyone wants to get into the Actors Studio, right? It's where Marlon Brando went and shit like that. So everyone thinks it's amazing. Bradley Cooper went to it, and there's famously he's in one of the, because they have a lot. It's in front of a live audience of students who are there, and they get to ask questions at the end. And there's one with Robert De Niro where Bradley Cooper's asking him questions, and then of course later on
I have seen that clip. I think.
It's a young Bradley Cooper, and he worked with De Niro. And wow.
They didn't show you all the other interviews that weren't Bradley Cooper.
But so my thing with that, I used to watch that religiously, of course, and I devoured it because it was on YouTube and stuff, and I devoured episode after episode. But I would always get to the point at which, the balance tipped, and they were suddenly famous because they would talk about their journey to getting somewhere and then how they landed X role. And once that happens, it's like, after that, I don't care. Yeah. Because A, I know what you did, and B, because then it just gets into, Steven Spielberg or whoever rang me up and he put this in front of me and said, we should look at this. So then I went and then it just turns into a sort of well-meaning but ultimately backslapping, talk about famous people.
Yeah.
It's kind of, which is not, I don't begrudge them that, but I would just go, I don't have much to glean from this.
Yeah, it's hard to when you their origin story, you can sort of see yourself in that. It's obtainable, but when it's coming from the place where you've already made it, it's like, well, you're now in a different stratosphere. I can't really relate to it.
There's a few actors like Brendan Fraser. He did an interview for GQ or something, and it was like a proper hour-long interview, and he talked about
the Mummy and Bedazzled. Is that guy?
Yeah.
I remember that.
George of the Jungle.
Yeah.
And latterly, what's it called?
I don't know. I just remember
fat movie. What's it called? Oh bollocks! I don't remember what it's called now. He won the Oscar for that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he won an Oscar.
Yeah. And I have watched that. It's a deeply depressing film, but it's very good.
Wonderful.
Anyway. I like him a lot, and he's a very likable person, and but his story was basically, I came out to Hollywood, I auditioned for a bunch of stuff and landed whatever film it was, and he very early on just landed a big film, and then got lucky after that.
Great,
kept going. So some people are like that, they just get lucky, and but then other people get lucky and then fall back. I remember Brandon Routh, who was Superman in Superman Returns. His whole thing was he'd done like a soap opera, he'd done something else, and then because he sort of looked like Christopher Reeve, he'd been around. I think he'd auditioned for the Superman film that fell through with McGee, and then when Bryan Singer took it on, it was like him, Henry Cavill, and someone else who were kind of in the running for it, or Josh Hartnett, I think, and then. Because he wanted it to be a continuation of the Christopher Reeve films, he kind of went with Brandon Routh because he kind of looked like him. But then that was one of those 0 to 100 career jumps in your sort of mid-20s, and you go, you have gone from soap operas and Christina Aguilera videos to leading a major film, and you think, how sustainable is that? And because I remember Chris Hemsworth saying that he was about ready to quit after he'd done Cabin in the Woods. And it got shelved. I can't remember which company it was. Might be the Weinsteins actually decided to shelve it. They went, he just filmed it. It was the only thing he'd done that was sort of any note was the first Star Trek film where he played Kirk's dad, and he dies right at the start, but it was like a big movie. And other than that, it was just the odd thing here and there. And he had a bunch of films he'd done that they just decided to park and they weren't going to put out. So he was like, I'm just going to go home and do Home and Away or whatever. And then he got Thor, but then because he got Thor, all these movies that were sat on a shelf suddenly became very valuable. So they went, we'll put those out. And then off the back of that, I remember it was around the time because I was doing Snow White and the Huntsman, and I met him because I was doing a sword fight with him. And it was just like, he was just everywhere. It was like Thor had come out, and then Cabin in the Woods, and then Red Dawn he did a remake of, and they all were just going bunk, 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 bunk. And it seemed like he was like, in everything all the time, but it was because of all these shelved projects, and so we're juxtaposing that with Brandon Routh, who then didn't have anything coming out after. So he spent a year basically making a Superman film and nothing else.
Then he was off the radar,
and then that film comes out, and it was fairly well received, but that wasn't the point. It was kind of like, but even just practically, he then needs to be cast in something else, film it, that has to come out on the schedule, and it's like, so there's going to be a huge gap. And so sometimes it can work for you, and you're like, exactly. So
we'll move on from movies in a minute.
Yeah,
the one thing I quite like watching is those the audition clips seem to have, I don't know if it's just my algorithms found them because I've watched one, or whether they've just surfaced, but stuff like for the when Daniel Craig was auditioning for James Bond, but then Henry screen test then. So, but Henry Cavill. Cavill, he's that audition. So it's interesting having like 20 years gone or however long. It probably is 20 years. It's probably coming up for 20 years. Well, 2006 wasn't it? So they to look back now and think they were obviously close with either him and I think that I love Daniel Craig as in fact pretty much everything he's done I like, but for me he was a great choice. But you can see why they would have gone with Henry as well.
Casino Royale, I think. Yeah, well, I think Henry Cavill was there. Martin Campbell, I think, wanted to look at who was the director.
Yeah, there was another audition I saw for it as well. Oh, screen test.
Well, no, so Cavill's one is an audition. That's just him reading off the script. So that wasn't. I think that was a scene from Goldeneye, and it's just him. They just put him on tape, and it was the same. They had what's his face from Avatar. What's his name?
I don't know.
I forgot his name now. Sorry, Sam Worthington.
Okay.
And he's there, and he clearly doesn't care. He's like, yeah, my name's Bond, James Bond, whatever, don't know. He hadn't learned his lines or something. They have to keep feeding him lines, and it's like, come on.
No,
come on. I probably know that scene anyway,
but
because I watched Goldeneye.
Cillian Murphy.
What did he do?
But he's for the Batman one, I think, he's doing it for Batman. Also. And again, it's just so interesting, like watching those.
That's a screen test. Yeah, the one you're talking about is a screen test where they did with Bruce Wayne, and they put him in the Batman Forever thing. But that's a screen. So when they set up a little set and they light it, and like the Daniel Craig one, I don't think Daniel Craig had to read for Casino Royale. I think because they wanted him, so he just went straight to the screen test. But with Bond, I know they set up, like, literally do days of filming in a set with scenes.
Really,
and
actually,
there's a fight scene.
What they
do the scene from Russia with Love, I think, and various bits and bobs. So yeah, I think that's a full on. That's a screen test. So that's what, if you've got a big budget. Quite often studios will put that together.
One of you'll think I'm a complete scumbag or something. Like you're like, it's not very. You know, people have got their top 5 movies, and like you've got to pick like Shawshank Redemption and all these top pick movies. Like one of my top 5 is Layer Cake.
So you like Layer Cake?
I love it. I love it.
It's a fun film.
Yeah,
I mean, I have fun with
it's just, but I doubt it's in many people's top.
I was cast as I think I'm still doing it, but it's been really delayed. But I was cast as a young, Ken Cranham, who's he's one of the two. Him and what's his name? Dumbledore. What's the actor's name? John. Oh, my brain.
Which Dumbledore?
So the two gangsters in Layer Cake.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of gangsters, but the two mob boss type guys. So the one that he
Gambon.
Yeah, Gambon. Thank you, Michael Gambon. So yeah, Ken Cranham's the other one. Who's like, what does he say? He's
the one with the whiskey. He shoots in the garden. I hope I'm not putting any spoilers. It's been out for over 20 years.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a 22-year-old film. I think by now, if you haven't seen it. Anyway, but yeah, I was cast as a young version of him in something that I'd like to do, which would be cool. It'd be nice to meet him, and he's quite a cool guy. I did sort of meet him on Maleficent because he was in that. But anyway,
I was about to do a scene then from it, and I realised it's incredibly racist, so I'm going to keep that one back.
One of my favourite things in it is Sally Hawkins going, when she does that, like, can I swear on this podcast? I suppose I can. Dipshit maths of like, when she's like, £5 pill. Like, it's like 5 minutes. Was it like,
shut up! You give an aspirin a headache.
You've got to be kidding! It doesn't work like that. They've got overheads. The bloke shoots him. Just looks at him.
It's such a good.
So flash if you didn't have him behind you, would you? Like,
but he has,
isn't he? Cole Meany is a wonderful actor as well. He's the.
It's just full. I don't know. It's just brilliant. Yeah. It's good fun. It's brilliant. It's an interesting. It's got a yellow Range Rover.
It's got a yellow Range Rover. It's probably one of my preferred Matthew Vaughn films. I remember when it came out and it felt a bit after the fact, like because of all the
Snatch and Lock, Stock. But it's not like those. It's different to those. It's sleeker than those. It's definitely more cool.
But it's actually based on a book as well, isn't it? It's not. It's from another.
Welcome to the Layer Cake. Yeah, no, it's good. But anyway, going back.
Yes,
I think we'll have to title this episode "End of Year
Film
Nonsense." I'm going to answer my own question. So for me, I took some notes from that stuff. No, it's fine. Don't worry. I don't think anybody really cares at this point. I just thought before we started, I just was like, actually, it's quite a good task to do, and I recommend anybody go back and ask themselves, like, what were the biggest wins, surprises, stuff that I took from this year. So I took 5 minutes to have a little think, and actually I came up with some bits that people might find useful. Surprises, I'll skip to surprises. Obviously, I did the magazine, which I would put as one of the successes this year. Was I published a magazine, I wrote the magazine, did the magazine, printed the magazine, but I've done a business magazine called Modern Business.
I'm going to run it.
Oh yeah, go get it. I'm going to keep talking while you're doing. So I did this magazine, and I just wanted it to produce it for business owners. Obviously, there's an element of subliminal marketing for my business, but I think when I started doing it, I thought there would be a lot less work, but sort of 40 pages of content, and good content,
Yes.
decent stuff in there. But obviously one of the successes, but also one of the learnings was the amount of work it took, but also I underestimated distribution.
Yeah.
I just thought, I know what I'll do. So I've had thousands of them printed, of which I still have thousands in my office. Luckily, it's not dated, so I can carry on doing this whenever. But I thought I'll on a Tuesday at around lunchtime, it'll be really good to go for a walk, hop in the car, go around an industrial estate, and I'll just drop 50 or 60 off. And then I'll make a note of where I've been, and then over the next few months, I'll ring those companies, find out what they thought about my magazine, and I might get some leads. And then on Friday, I might go back and I might drop off another 60. And over the course of a few months, I'll have no magazines left and I'll have a big contact book of prospects. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
In principle, that has not worked. There's just other business stuff. And because it's not an immediate income generating task, other stuff, like, so if you get a phone call, I have a proposal to make, I have like more immediate tasks set in front of me. It's just taken a back seat. So I think one of the things, and I know we'll have an episode probably maybe more on like goal setting for the next year, but that's something I've learned from, and I need to kind of work out distribution, because I wanted to be sort of specific with where I put them. I didn't want to just send them out and end up in dustbins everywhere. So that was one of the things I found. The other thing for me as well was like my mindset. So when I set out at the beginning of the year, had like this lovely idea about my consultative approach with customers, and offering them this really holistic approach. And I think what I've realized is that not every client wants the same thing. So actually sometimes I want to give my client everything. I want to give them the best cost-effective, most competitive product. I want to give them it as quick as possible. I want to make sure it's the most suitable product. But sometimes clients come to you and actually they have a bigger priority, and it might just be speed. It might just be convenience. And sometimes trying to shelve what I think is the perfect thing for that client, but also make sure that I'm still considering actually their priority outweighs all these other things, even if I think it's better for them. Sometimes you've got to kind of fight with that balance between what you think or know is the best thing and actually just go for that, what serves them and what they want. And that's been a big battle for me this year, just trying to, because I know there's lots of what I call kind of cowboy brokers out there. It is essentially the Wild West in finance brokering. There's a lot of good finance brokers. There's a lot of people that just want a commission because that's how we're paid. And they will just try and sell the quickest, most expensive loan as quick as they can, and make it and their win is convenience. But I think what I've realized is the reason they're successful is I've underestimated the value of convenience. People really enjoy being able to just tick as few boxes and get what they need as quick as possible.
I would say that's a lesson I've probably learned myself as well. It's hard, I think, because of bespoke sort of services, I suppose, on you're able to offer sort of flexibility or bespoke stuff within a package. So obviously finance and invoice finance or whatever finance, but then within that you can tailor things. Whereas for me, I've always, the received wisdom is standardize your products, refine it down as much as possible, make it as a few, people don't need to understand what's in between, make it as refined and as easy to digest as possible. Yes, I sort of did that because I set up 3 different packages. But invariably, people come to me and go, I want to do a podcast, or I want to do a video, or I would like to have the cut downs, or I don't need this, or I don't need that, and so it's very hard. You can't just force people to go, no, you buy one of the 3 that will get lost, so, and in my case a lot of the time it is budget dependent. I guess that menu gives it gives you a starting point, but a lot of the time it's going to be tailored, and they don't need that, they do want that. But I think if you would just had like a click buy now service, then that would work. But when it's much more consultative. That is something I have thought about doing, and having like a storefront on the website, and people can just sign up to it. But I do think most people don't want they wouldn't just pay. They'd want to speak to somebody.
Well, this is the thing. Well, going back to the point we made earlier, if Ryan Reynolds, we use Ryan Reynolds, sets up a website tomorrow and has a buy now for a 1 hour consultation, he can do that.
Yeah.
Because he already has the influence. But when you're us, I think the thing we have, our unique quality, is us, and you can't really buy that just on a website. You need more of an inquire now.
Yeah, I mean, I find that when people do look me up, they very quickly recognise that I'm an authority in what I'm saying. But it's just getting people to look you up is really difficult. Sometimes I'll quite often say people check me out on IMDb. Just put my name into the internet and you'll find it. It's not hard, and just you'll see my list of credits. You'll see that I've worked on movies, and but people often won't. It's like that. Even that's too much of a ball ache, and especially when people go on your website. I mean, you've got seconds to keep their attention. It's not long. So I think usually your website should be very much like, boom, here's what is your key USP, or what is your, what is it? Yeah. Why should you stay here? And
Yeah. I've actually tweaked some of mine, some of the calls to action, and just simplified it. And I've kept simplifying it. I started off with all this stuff, and actually, apart from I've added content in terms of blogs and resources, but I've reduced words as such and action points, so it's much more direct. Right. Just to keep it a bit more simple for people. Like, as I say, just so they can find exactly what they need. And I think also, if you offer too much, you don't look like a specialist in anything. So that's probably another thing I've learned is I can't really niche down, and I enjoy being a generalist, so I'm not going to go down that road, even though there maybe would be advantages to it. But still, it's still important to have really clear messaging. Yeah. The other thing I've thought was on that kind of subject is also not being perfect, and it's always been an issue with me. I've wanted everything perfect, and one example is actually I did go on a podcast. It's before this podcast. I wasn't cheating on this podcast, no, I went on as a guest, and I wasn't really happy with the way it went, and I didn't really share it with network, because it was a guy called James Sinclair. It was he's actually really quite popular. He has a big audience, but just the way it went, it just didn't work. And anyway, I never really told anybody about it. But the amazing thing from it was that I got a lead from it, and it was just, and I don't know, it's just the way it was all formatted, and I was fine before, and I hadn't really done any of this before, and I just it was just and although I thought it was terrible, guy contacted me the next week who ran an accountancy firm, really liked what I said, resonated with him, and started working with him, and sent me some inquiries and things.
I think it's the same, because we say this of acting. I mean, when you, especially on film, because when you've done your bit, that's it. You've given it. You give it over to the editor, and then ultimately the audience. Once the film is out, it's like, okay, that belongs to an audience now, and the audience will do with it as they were. And I've done stuff where people loved it, and other stuff where they didn't, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Someone will find something in something, and so if you're listening to a podcast and a person sort of resonates with you, that's not something you can't engineer that. And you can see that with some podcasts and stuff like that. People are trying to game the system. They're trying to do it in this way or that way.
I want the most perfectly organised and well structured podcast, while also being really relaxed and it being enjoyable, and you can swear and do whatever you want. And it's like you kind of, and it's which one do you home in on? I think, because I also don't want to. I mean, this has probably been a bit rambly, but it's the last one at the end of the year.
Have a glass,
chill,
enjoy us talk out of our.
But I think there is a point where there's enough of that out there. I do want to. I want to give something back. I want to add some value. I would say that starts from structure. Yeah. And I think the more we do with that, but then bring in the natural side as well.
That will come from guests as well. But I would say this, and I think you're probably right. If I look at our most sort of successful episodes, have been ones where it was quite structured. And and it had a clear, USP. About the episode.
Because you're not going for virality.
You can't.
You know, it's not what we're going for.
You can go for clickbait. You can't go for virality.
We're not going. Well, we're not going for either, really, are we? We're going to find our audience, and it takes a bit of time to find them. And it's the one thing I think we can honestly say, this is very real. We're back in your kitchen today.
We are.
You know, it's sort of because this is what's worked. So
what have we got? So
I think we touched on your pricing. Oh, and we've kind of touched on this. See, we've naturally gone through some of these subjects. Wider discussion we've both learned is so I mean, really, I think we've probably touched on most of this stuff, really. I think it's just a case of kind of looking forward, what we want to do, learning from those mistakes.
It's in a way, I mean, I suppose if we look at, if we talk about some goals we want for next year, that's a bit of accountability on us, isn't it? Because we're putting this out there now in the ether, so people.
Well, maybe we'll do that in the next.
We will do it in the next.
On the next episode,
right?
Yeah,
we'll
talk about goals and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to anything next year? Is this?
I think it's, for me, it's very much trying to just build on this year, really. I'm quite looking forward to this Christmas period and just sort of not winding down, but this kind of final push. Enjoy some time with the family, having young children, not kind of being present with that. I think we can get taken away with trying to build our businesses and everything else, and it's just difficult to sort of juggle all of those different hats. So juggle those hats. That's the thing. People juggle hats, wear those hats. But I think it's just a case of just trying to, and then take that into next year and just work hard, try and find the right balance, build upon this year, and learn from the lessons that we've discussed. I think for me, as I said, it was that kind of doing the 360 consultation with a client and just understanding there's probably some opportunities I'm maybe missing out on, some I call it low-hanging fruit. I spoke to somebody the other day, they didn't have a clue what I meant. I thought low-hanging fruit was a standard expression. Yeah. I talk in a lot of metaphors, apparently.
Low-hanging fruit. Do you? I mean, that's quite.
Yeah, probably. I think it's a sales thing. I don't know. But anyway, that low-hanging fruit, then there's probably more opportunities for me that I'm missing because I'm so focused on this service and all of this and I think what I've done this year as well is in the final part of the year, I have just been a bit more direct. So when because I don't want to be a salesperson, I don't want to sell finance. So I've kind of been, here's all your options, let me know what you think, and whereas actually I maybe just steered that to be a bit more targeted and a bit more going, again, not selling it, but actually just kind of cracking on with just trying to maybe write a bit more business, because I think there comes a point where actually you can be a nice guy, but you can potentially be missing out. I missed a few deals where I've maybe been slightly complacent, because as I said, there's a lot of other competition out there, and I've had really good clients of mine that have ended up using other brokers sometimes, like online platforms. Almost in like, not because they're dissatisfied with my service, but because it's just come along and they've gone, oh well, it just popped up and I just had to click a few buttons and I just did it, or they've gone to it, then come to me, but because they've already clicked the buttons, they've been ring fenced. So they've kind of, whereas I'm like, well, actually, if I'd have just said to the client, shall we go ahead with that now? I'm not really, I don't like that sort of, like, to make you feel pressured into doing it.
Well, so immediately, especially whenever you have those sales calls, I like to just chat to the person, get to know them, all that stuff. I don't like to then sort of, it just feels really disingenuous to suddenly go, okay, so what is it like? Because you read all the things about
when they go. So should we lock this one in?
So if I were to say to you like blah blah blah, would you have any objection to that? It's the way of phrasing it so that they're naturally inclined to say no. So you ask them a sort of double.
Would you not want to do
exactly.
this?
Like, well, that's the thing you say to them, would you have any objection to that? Because they're inclined to go no, and it's like, but I know, and I hate all that, and I hate when people do it to me. I basically told a guy to F off the other day. It just annoys me because it's a sales tactic. They'd asked me to write something for a magazine, to do with like Deborah Meaden was going to be it, and they were like, oh, you need to be our expert voice on video, and they were like, we really think you'd be a great fit, and like, can we set up a call? And I was like, okay. So I had a call with the guy. Then it was like, oh yeah, great fit. Yeah, can you speak to the editor of the magazine? Where I was like, okay. And I get this guy on. He's not an editor. He's a sales twat who, and all he wanted to do was like, oh, and then at one point he goes, now of course I am going to be charging you for this. Those were his words. And I was like, you're going to charge me to do work for you, are you? And he was like, well, yeah. And he goes, it's $3,500 for the... And I went, what? I said, like, I'm sorry, I find it a bit distasteful that you want me to provide you with content for your magazine. I said, why should I pay you? And he goes, well, you're going to get leads from it. It's like, are you going to guarantee me that?
Yeah.
You can't guarantee me that. And so no. I said, just that it's a no. Right?
But this is the thing. So like that experience, I'm like a whole world away from being there. And I think it's just a case to... I've probably not explained it that well, but it's just dialing it up a little bit. And I think where I've been, as I said, maybe too nice a person, like not too nice is the wrong way, but actually it's almost for my client's own good for me to be asking that question a bit quicker or following up on it a bit quicker. And it's as much to protect my business from being ring-fenced from another broker coming in, but it's also to make sure that clients actually, they're getting looked after by me, and I can, as I say, holistically. So if they have gone for maybe that quicker, more expensive option, at least I've got vision of that, and I can help them, tell them about their exit terms, and I'm going to be able to provide them a much more transparent service with it. So actually I'm sort of doing them a favor by doing it, but I think for me, it just dial it up a little bit more targeted and sort of close business a bit quicker, which I think me doing it, I'm still a mile away from where some of those other people
I think I'm definitely the same as you on that front, and I agree. I need to find a way to be better at that is aligned with who I am, not just do the thing that, like with the best people, like I know we talk about Alex Hormozy all the time. It's like, I'm not him, and I'm not a dude bro gym guy, even though I really really like.
And you do look like
not at the moment, but so I wouldn't, I would never be like that, and so it's about finding a way to do it that is sort of in alignment with who I am.
It's like a politeness, I think, as well. It's like a British politeness. Not that everybody that's British is like that, but I think it's just trying to find it. You just hit the nail on the head, doing it within your values, within your sort of style. And I think actually it's just got to get over yourself a bit sometimes. For me, I think that's just the case, and know that I'm not selling sort of. I'm not selling smoke and mirrors here. It's like it's a genuine thing that's going to offer value. So why wouldn't you want us to work together? And it's just helping that customer across the line. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, and the more you go on, the more that'll be self-evident. I tell you what I'm looking forward to the most, actually, in sort of the more immediate future, is that as of the 1st of January, I'll have been trading for 3 years. So I will have beaten that most businesses fold after 3 years, don't they?
Yeah, and you can no longer get a new business startup
loan. And I can't get a startup loan, so I technically won't be a startup anymore. But that's fine.
We should look that up. We've got the podcast stats, but the amount of businesses that fell in the first few years. I mean, we're lucky the overheads in both our businesses are relatively low with the style that we've gone. They don't have to be. Could have employed a load of people and taken on like large offices and vehicles and everything, but we're not as at risk of overtrading and pushing those boundaries. But I mean, it's great. It's an achievement and something to build on. It's like the frame. You've got the foundations of the house in place. Now you just need to start doing the brickwork.
I am slowly doing the brickwork. I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping that we've built some good relationships this year with some new clients and with. Like PR firms and that kind of thing, and I think they've certainly said to me that we are definitely their preferred video provider. So who knows? Touch wood, we may see some more business through that next year. So
good.
Yeah. Well, should we wrap up there?
I think we should.
That's a good place to end.
Yeah, a bit of a thank you for everyone that has watched and listened. It's been really good. This has been a bit of a sandbox for us to practice this in, and I think it's generally the feedback's been really good, and it's been nice to share our learning so far as small business owners with you, and I hope that you've taken something from it, and we've got lots of big plans for 2026 as well. So please stay with us while we put all that together and produce some, even better stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, I too have had people, say that they've enjoyed it. So long may it continue, and we will continue. Like we were talking about before. This is also about finding our audience and finding our feet, and we will. And it's just nice to know that someone watches it and gets something out of it. So
exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well,
Thank
have
you.
a great Christmas, everybody. Happy
Merry
New
Christmas,
Year.
yeah.
And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks.